Now, there was a question just down here. I wouldn't mind trying to get through one or two very quick ones. We are running out of time, but this lady here, please. Thank you. So we might just have to keep our answers fairly brief, I think, for the next...
Can we take a few questions?
Ask less complex questions then.
Sorry?
Maybe have a few questions and then we'll answer it together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
This
thank
is
you.
a very simple question. Michael, the first words you used tonight were men's violence against women. They're quite very strong, provocative words, and also give ownership to the crime. I didn't see those words in any of the blurb that have been handed out this evening, and I'm wondering if your organisation would consider using that term, men's violence against women, in the future. And Lisa, would the media, when they're reporting on violence against women, be prepared to put men's violence against women, and so that it's out there and we all know where it's coming from?
Would you like to go first, Michael?
Sure. Did you want to do other questions first, or do you want me to just jump in
I think
quickly?
I think we might
just very
quickly.
quickly.
Just very quickly.
In Canada, White Ribbon Campaign does use the phrase men's violence against women. It's interchangeable, but we make sure that that's there. The thing about the White Ribbon Campaign, it's a totally decentralized effort. So it's not, the campaign here is not my campaign, any more than the Canadian campaign is my campaign. The spirit of White Ribbon has been quite unusual in the sense that we believe strongly that people know best in their own community, in their own workplace, in their own country, how to reach the men and the boys. So we developed it from the start as it's a non-membership organization. Anyone can just do it. There's no ownership of it. So it's not an organization where we have like an international policy or anything like that. So certainly when I speak, I encourage people to use language that does name the problem. So I think it's a good suggestion.
And from the media's perspective, I'm probably not the best person to ask, not being in a managerial position in the media, but the media, as you're all probably aware, reports what we're given. We really, despite popular belief, don't generally editorialise. So if we're given those words, then we're more inclined to use those words. So we will sort of judge it on that, I think. This lady here, please, and we might have to make this the last question, I'm afraid.
Andrew, you said before about Ted, the guy on the board. In our experience, most people in that sort of a position are in denial about violence, men's violence to women. And just wondering how you might go about raising that with men on board positions and managerial positions so that they are no longer in denial and are willing to accept that this is actually happening in the workplace, particularly in workplaces that are male-dominated.
Just a very quick response, please.
The difficulties arise because they are full of good intentions, but they need to have some way of having good behaviour reinforced. To do that, we have to have good relations with their employers. And if we do that, then we're capable of putting that message across. If employers, however, want to have an adversarial relationship in the workplace between workers, unions and their employer, then it's almost impossible to get that message across. So the most important thing is that there be a cooperative, even if sometimes it gets a bit willing, but a cooperative relationship in the workplace, and that's the first part of it.
Thanks for that, Andrew. Now listen, Michael, I might throw to you for a closing comment. Where do you see us as a society going from here? And specifically, what can the people who have come along tonight do to effect some change, to be able to help?
Well, one of the things that I encourage any man in this room to do, to go to a website, myoath.com.au. I think I have that right, where you can virtually swear not to commit, excuse, or remain silent about violence against women. And please do that, and let the other men that you know. I just last night heard the head of of a company say that he added to his email, at the bottom where you have your name, just automatically he's included this White Ribbon Pledge. I think that what's key is to figure out how we can reach the men and boys around us. So, there isn't one thing. When we say, rather than say, okay, we're going to rely on someone to do it for us, but to use our own creativity, our own connections, or whatever to make things happen, then a million things will happen. Let me just tell you a very quick story about that. And it's a bit dated, as you'll see from one thing I'm going to say. It happened several years ago. But I was giving a talk in a small community, and at the end of it, this guy was sort of holding back. I could tell he wanted to say something, but he was looking really guilty. And I thought it was going to be something terrible that he was going to tell me. So he hung back until everyone had left, and finally he approached me. And he couldn't meet my eyes. And he said, Michael, is it okay if I make a copy of some white ribbon material? And I was relieved that this wasn't a horror story. I said, of course, please copy whatever we have. There's no copyrights. Just steal whatever we have. He still didn't look at me. And he said, is it okay to make a copy of your video? At the time, we had a video, though not as good as the wonderful White Ribbon Australian video of men swearing, but we had a video about men speaking out against violence. And I said, sure, make a copy of the video. He still didn't look at me. And so I said, what is it? He said, well, is it okay if I make more than one copy? I said, yes, make all the copies you want. And it was like in the movies. He went, shoo. And I said, why? He said, well, I've made actually hundreds of copies. And I said, why would you do that? Anyway, it turned out, he said, my job, this is where the story is a bit dated, he said, my job is I am a VCR repairman. And what I did, yeah, you see what's coming here? What I did, every time I fixed a VCR, video cassette recorder, I put a cassette in with your ad, I returned it to the owner, and then of course the guy hooks it up at home, turns it on, and there in his living room is a message about ending violence against women and men speaking out. Now, we've got a room full of smart people, and you say, well, what can we do? Well, none of us is going to say, I've got it. We're going to organize the DVD repairmen in Brisbane. But if we say, you know how to reach the men and in your school, in your workplace, in your temple or your church or your synagogue, whatever it might be, in your union, wherever it might be, then we're going to come up with a million different ways. And that's been the spirit of the White Ribbon Campaign. That's been the spirit of much of the women's movement, to use our energy, use our capacity, to turn around, to go back to your quote from Martin Luther King Jr., to see those injustices and not let it go by, and just to say, well, what can I do? And it may be one little thing, but that little thing is going to make waves, and that will spread. And with the collective energy that we have, the energy that we have as humans, as members of communities, that is going to have an impact. I was about to say that is going to change the world. Let me change that. That is changing the world.
Thank you, Michael. Panya?
Yeah. For me, I hope that from this you would know a bit. Actually, I did not talk much about the situation in Cambodia, but I just summarize, like, we still have violence against women is a huge issue in Cambodia. At the same time, we have the law and policy to protect women from violence against women, but the law is still weak. We need to improve law enforcement. And people's awareness about the law still also very low. People do not have a service, like assistance service available for them, especially for the rural people one. So I hope that you can share all these issues with other people in your country, and you continue. Actually, we already have received support from people and also government of Australia to do our work, and I hope that you will continue to support us to do our work so that we all together can stop violence from our world. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Panya. And Andrew?
Well, the point for the union movement these days is that we've had those policies for a long time about sexual harassment and bullying, but now we have to model good behaviour, and we need to support those men who are prepared to stand up against violence against women, and that is especially the case in male-dominated unions. We have to ensure that it is not first of all, dismissed as somehow not relevant to the concerns of unions, but secondly, we have to inculcate into the culture of workplaces that harassment and bullying and violence against women is not acceptable. And we don't just do that, as I say, by saying that we've got some fine words, and in many instances they are fine words, consulted through exhaustively. But it's time to model good behaviour and to make sure that those workers who are prepared to stand up are valued, are honoured, and are given the due recognition by their unions, by their fellow workers, and also by their employers, to make sure that violence against women is seen for what it is, which is an attack on all of us.
Great, thanks Andrew. Ladies and gentlemen, video of tonight will be available on the One Just World website within the next few days. In fact, you can watch all of the forums in the series. There's close to 100 opinions on poverty and development. If you register on the evaluation forms that are on your seat tonight or via the website, you'll receive an email whenever a new video is added to the website and get news about some forthcoming forums. You can also add your comments about the issues and suggest ideas for future forums. One Just World is about two things. It's about giving you the opportunity to hear expert views on world poverty and development, but it also asks you to think about what we can all do to help build a more just and equitable future. And remember, tomorrow is White Ribbon Day, so all of you men out there, don't forget to swear and to pass that on to your little boys. On behalf of One Just World, thank you to our guests again, Michael Kaufman, Sok Panya and Andrew Detmar. And thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, very much for coming along tonight. Please do take a moment to fill out your evaluation forms, which are on your seats, to provide some feedback. We do aim to make the forums better for you. Thank you all for coming along, and a very good night.